Developing right now on Morning News Now, straight talk. President Trump sending an expletive-laden warning to Iran ahead of his deadline to open the Strait of Hormuz. The harsh words just hours after the president announced the rescue of a second airman after a U.S. fighter jet was struck down in Iran. Now, Democrats criticizing the president, saying his threats are endangering American lives.
Let me tell you what won't reopen the Strait of Hormuz: threatening war crimes of bombing indiscriminately power plants, cursing at Iran.
I hope the White House, I doubt the president will, but please dial back the rhetoric, because you don't need to put people like these pilots more at risk.
More on the president's message and the growing fallout from Washington to the Middle East. Here at home, costly conflict, how the war with Iran is making its mark on your wallet, from skyrocketing gas prices to the roller coaster ride on Wall Street. A look at the trends and what you can do to protect your money. Also this morning, shoot for the moon. NASA's Artemis II crew set to make history today as they approach their closest point to the moon. We are tracking their progress ahead of today's big lunar flyby. Plus, a message of peace from Pope Leo as he celebrates his first Easter Mass, and Gen Z inspiring a religious resurgence. A look at the trend that's driving millions of younger Americans to church. That's a great conversation to have just after this Easter Sunday. Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you so much for starting your week with us. Joe is off this morning. We're going to begin this Monday morning with the latest on the war with Iran. President Trump is scheduled to host a news conference at the White House. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern today. And while the president did not appear on camera this weekend, he did deliver several messages on his social media platform, Truth Social. First, on Saturday morning, Mr. Trump said Iran had 48 hours before, quote, all hell will rain down on Iran if they do not make a deal to end the war or open the Strait of Hormuz. Then early Sunday morning, just after midnight, the president announced that U.S. forces safely rescued the second crew member aboard the two-seat fighter jet that went down over Iran on Friday. Finally, later that morning, on Easter Sunday, President Trump ramped up his threats to attack Iran's civilian infrastructure, calling this coming Tuesday, quote, power plant day and bridge day. So this message, it was filled with expletives. He also told Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face, in his words, living in hell, as he seemed to cement Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern as the latest deadline for Iran to open that critical shipping passage. We have a team of correspondents and analysts in place this morning, bringing us the very latest. You can see them on your screen there. We're going to start with NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley. He joins us from the old city of Jerusalem. Matt, good morning. President Trump indicates this 8 p.m. deadline, latest here tomorrow, to open the Strait of Hormuz. Let's talk about the current situation there in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's control over this critical shipping passageway.
Yeah, well, just one point about that message from President Trump. Aside from all of the expletives and the threats, he's also saying that Tuesday will become the day when he will be attacking Iranian infrastructure if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz. But he mentions that it will be late Tuesday. That's the deadline, which would actually be early morning here in the Holy Land. So Wednesday would be that day. So this is a real mix-up, and it's clear that he's firing off these messages rather impetuously. So the situation here on the ground is not resembling what we've heard from the White House. We are continuing now, more than 5 weeks into this war, seeing the Iranians pelting Israel, and now, for the first time in weeks, we've seen deaths from Iranian ballistic missiles in the northern city of Haifa. 4 people have been killed. Others have been wounded. This is a situation that Israel had more or less avoided. The casualties here had been relatively low. Here in the Holy Land, here in Jerusalem, where you can see me now, this whole area should be in the middle of Holy Week, Passover. Then we had Easter, Good Friday, Good Thursday, Holy Sunday yesterday. But there's nobody here. Shopkeepers say that they're suffering, and this is because of the Israeli restrictions that come directly from this war.
Matt, tell us how Iran is responding to that message from the president that he posted and this deadline to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, for one thing, we have heard that there is a peace proposal that is on the table, a 48-hour truce that had been proposed by other countries and was submitted to the United States and Iran. We still haven't heard. This is the Associated Press reporting this. We still haven't heard what the Iranian response is to that. We haven't really heard much in the way of an Iranian response to President Trump's threats, but we have to put this into context. President Trump has made threats the entire time. Most of them, he's either delayed actually acting on those threats, or he's simply ignored them and seemed to have forgotten about them. So it's not something that the Iranians or really anybody in this region is probably going to be taking particularly seriously.
Matt, what can you tell us about the latest strikes overnight and this past weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this is, as I mentioned, 4 dead in northern Israel, strikes that hit all around the Gulf region. And again, those U.S. servicemen who were, both of them lost over Iran, both of them recovered alive. But this just goes to show, more than 5 weeks into this war, the Iranians are still very much capable of clapping back against the aggressors that they see in Israel and America.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you very much. Let's now bring in NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz. She is in Washington with more. Megan, good morning. So let's go back to those messages from President Trump on Truth Social over the weekend. What can you tell us about the president's latest deadline here for Iran to open that Strait of Hormuz this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern? How did that come to be? And how it fits in with what we may hear at this planned news conference this afternoon?
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. So just to give you some background here, the president has delayed his deadlines before multiple times, but in a post to Truth Social, he seemed to make it Tuesday at 8 p.m. Now, in a separate post to Truth Social earlier on Saturday morning, as you can see on your screen, he had said that Iran had 48 hours in order to make a deal before all hell will rain down on them, were his words. Now, we're also learning a bit more about what the president said is going to happen on Tuesday if Iran does not meet that deadline in order to reopen the strait. He had a post that had several expletives in it. You can see on your screen where he said that Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. He called on Iran to open the strait and said that if not, then they will be living in hell, were his words. Now, also yesterday, the president participated in about a half dozen phone interviews with various reporters. We learned a little bit more about what he says to expect if Iran does not make a deal. So he told Axios, for example, that he thinks that there's a good chance that the U.S. and Iran comes to a deal before the deadline. But he said that if the countries do not come to a deal before then, he said, if they don't make a deal, I am blowing up everything over there. So we can expect to hear more about this directly from the president when he talks with reporters today at 1 p.m. when they're expected to press him on all of these issues that you just heard about, Savannah.
Megan, also big news. We have new details here about how U.S. forces were able to rescue that second crew member aboard the F-15 fighter jet that went down over Iran on Friday. What did the president say, and what do we know about the CIA's role in that mission?
Yeah, that's right. So the president said that the military sent dozens of aircrafts in order to retrieve that second service member who the president said was injured but will be just fine. You can see on your screen what the president said about this. He called it a miraculous search and rescue operation. He also said that the U.S. previously did not discuss that first rescue mission to get that first service member out because they did not want to jeopardize the second rescue operation. Now, he said as well, we will never leave an American warfighter behind. Now, we're also learning more about the role of the CIA in getting to this rescue mission. A senior administration official had told NBC that before the CIA had actually even been able to find this service member, the CIA had launched a deception campaign inside Iran to try to spread information inside Iran that the military had already found this service member and was moving him out on the ground in order to get him out of the country. Now, while that confusion was spreading, then the CIA was actually able to find this service member inside what the administration official called a mountain crevice. Once the CIA was able to find that service member, they relayed that information onto the Pentagon and to the White House. They ultimately were able to launch that rescue operation, Savannah.
Megan, also, I do want to talk about something interesting that happened with one of these prediction markets. So Polymarket, it took down one of these markets that had allowed users to wager on when the downed service members would be rescued. These markets in general have been such a topic of conversation and even potential legislation in Washington. What can you tell us about this and how this sort of adds to that conversation?
Yeah, that's right. So that prediction market did not sit well with Congressman Seth Moulton, who's also a veteran. So he had blasted that prediction market in a post to X where he called it disgusting. Now, in response, Polymarket had responded to his post saying that they took this market down immediately as it does not meet our integrity standards. They said it should not have been posted and that they're investigating as well. Now, Congressman Moulton said in later posts he called Polymarket's integrity standards, in his words, severely lacking. And he also called on Polymarket to remove all other bets that are associated with the war in Iran. Savannah.
All right, Megan Leibowitz, thank you so much. For more analysis, let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis. He is a senior fellow at Defense Priorities and also host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive. Good morning. Thank you, as always, for being with us. So we're seeing this escalating rhetoric here between President Trump and Iran's president, both sides issuing these sort of ultimatums over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what's interesting from your perspective that we always appreciate, Danny, is you've been doing things like right now, I know, keeping an eye on the radar, tracking U.S. military aircraft activity. What do you think U.S. military escalation could look like, given that we are just hours away from this deadline where the president is promising just that, military escalation?
Well, you know, looking at what he said, Savannah, you have to think he has to be talking about something different, because we've had, I think I've heard the latest official figure is like 30,000 targets have been attacked since we started this war here. And you see it's kind of become, in a sense, I mean, it sounds a little odd, but almost background noise now. Psychologically, within Iran, they can handle that. They have foreseen that. They have prepared for that kind of bombs. And now that if you're saying, well, we're going to bring holy hell down, what can you do that's different from what you had before? And one wonders if there's possibly going to be heavier ordnance, the Moab, so-called mother of all bombs, one of the biggest conventional bombs that we have in our inventory. He may fly that over something and drop it. That's a risky operation, though, because it can only be dropped by a C-130 or higher rated aircraft, which means it's slow and it's got to fly over the target and drop it. It's not something you can launch. So that would have a risk all of its own. But otherwise, it's unclear what you would do different, because, look, we're already running low on the JASSMs, the long-range missiles, on the Tomahawks. A lot of reports out from Axios and others that we're getting dangerously low on those. So I don't know that you would have a big spurge. And what would that accomplish if you did? Because Iran has shown that they can absorb those and continue to hold that straight and to continue to be effective as a government. So it's unclear to me, really, what could represent something of the nature he's talking about there.
I also want to ask you about this rescue mission of that U.S. airmen in Iran. We just heard from Megan on some of this, but just from a military perspective, I mean, hundreds of special operations troops and military personnel were involved, including, as we heard from Megan, the CIA. Walk us through a mission like that, how dangerous and risky it is.
Yeah, you know, that issue about the CIA, it's a little peculiar, I'll say, because why would we need the CIA to try to locate the guy? Because every pilot has a satellite phone on him. He has a beacon on his ejection seat. So there shouldn't have been any problem to knowing where the guy was or even being able to communicate with him. So unless something happened to his communications gear, it's not clear why the CIA would have been involved with that. It's also unusual that you would have to try to rescue a pilot, 2 C-130 type aircrafts, and then 4 little birds, they call them, these smaller helicopters, to go and to have an extraction. There is some concern that there may have been an additional mission that was trying to either mask over the rescue of the WSO, the pilot, the second pilot, or maybe there was another mission entirely, and these two got conflated, and they were trying to do them both. It's unclear, a lot of confusion, but I'll just tell you, that many assets to get one pilot out is not common.
Considering this was the first time the U.S. lost a fighter jet in enemy fire in over 20 years, we came close to Iran taking that downed service member as a prisoner of war. What do you think that says about Iran's military capabilities at this point? I mean, do you think President Trump and Defense Secretary Hegseth have overstated at all the level of air superiority the U.S. has against Iran?
Yeah, there's no question that's been overstated. There's also no question that we have air superiority. That is clear, because there are literally hundreds of sorties flying on a regular basis, and most of them come back safely. They're able to drop their ordnance. There's no doubt about that, but it's definitely not been eliminated. This claim that we can just fly everywhere we want and it's all open, well, self-evidently, that's no longer the case, or if maybe it never was. But there's also some evidence that Iran has had some newer kind of indigenously developed developed anti-aircraft capabilities that are new and technologically interesting. In one hand, they're a little bit less technologically capable, but they work because we're not prepared to defend against those. So according to some the special operators I've talked to here in just the last couple of days, they say they're really worried about it.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis, thank you as always for your time. Well, slowly but surely, we have been feeling the effects of the war in Iran here at home. The cost to fill up your car is now the highest that it has been in years. We're also seeing the impact of this conflict in other ways. For more, let's bring in Caleb Silver, Chief Business Editor at People Inc. and Editor-in-Chief of Investopedia. Caleb, as always, thank you. All right, starting on gas prices, hitting $4.11 a gallon. That is the highest we've seen in 4 years. How much higher could these go, and how much of a concern is this?
Much higher, and we're already feeling it pretty much everywhere we spend money. If you're not feeling it yet at the grocery store, you will in a couple months. But just take it back to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We saw gas spike and oil spike into $145 a barrel. Gas prices held pretty firm for several months until that was resolved. So prices could definitely go higher, and they're starting to go higher in other places. You look at the direct impact, like gasoline, definitely $1 plus higher than it was a month ago. Natural gas prices up 6 or 7%. Jet fuel up 95%. Diesel fuel 49%. These bleed their way into the areas where we spend money, whether it's travel or logistics to get our goods to the United States or send them out. That's where we're feeling it.
Well, and I'm imagining that price of diesel, getting those products here, that's impacting businesses, and then potentially the price the consumer pays. What are businesses dealing with right now?
Yeah, they're dealing with the fact that they're paying higher fuel costs, and they're going to pass them on to us. We heard from Amazon saying that they're going to add a surcharge to its third-party sellers. We heard from the United States Postal Service. They're going to add a fuel surcharge starting in about 2 or 3 weeks. The other shippers as well, FedEx, UPS, anything that requires logistics, diesel fuel, or jet fuel is going to add a surcharge, whether that gets passed directly to us as consumers or it's masked in some way, like extra baggage fees. We're going to feel it.
Let's talk through what this could mean for interest rates. So the Federal Reserve meeting is
23 days, 6 hours, and 50 minutes, but don't expect anything to happen at that
even though
meeting.
we see this potentially driving inflation.
Yeah, and we heard from Fed Chair Powell last week that this could be transitory, that T word again, or it could last for a long time. They just don't have the information to know whether or not these extra high oil prices are going to cause more inflation across consumer goods. We're going to see the CPI, the Consumer Price Index report, at the end of this week. That'll give us a little taste of it, but we really haven't felt the full effects. You're going to have to wait until midsummer until you feel these prices, but you're already starting to feel them. If you're buying airline tickets into the summer, or if you're filling up at the gas station, or even if you're buying rice at the grocery store, that's up 7 or 8%. These different commodities are going to start to trickle higher in terms of price.
All right, Caleb Silver, thank you as always. Let's get a live look outside at the plaza now as New York wakes up to blue skies after a rainy Easter weekend. Let's check in on what you can expect with your morning news now weather. There's that shot. Meteorologist Andrew Romero joins us. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. And we do have some rain that's impacting parts of the country, not there in right there in Rockefeller Plaza, but we do have some rain over here in the Gulf Coast into the Florida Peninsula. This is a slow-moving front that's going to be moving across the area during the next couple of days, bringing a lot of rainfall. We can see some rainfall this morning over here over the Gulf Coast states into the Florida Panhandle. At this moment, we're expecting this front to continue to move through, bringing some high hourly rates of rainfall, which could lead to some flash flooding. So we have some concerns for those weather conditions in that region. We also are expecting this strong easterly flow to continue to develop across the area, pushing all that water into the Atlantic coast. So beachgoers, spring breakers, you have to be careful. We're expecting dangerous rip current conditions as well as that high surf. As far as the rainfall forecast through Wednesday, we're talking about locally 5 inches plus of rainfall that could fall here from Daytona Beach into Melbourne, even into West Palm Beach, and even into Miami. We can have those heavy downpours impacting area. Of course, it is beneficial rainfall if you're considering the drought conditions, because nearly 80% of Florida is in extreme drought at this moment. Meanwhile, in the northern tier of the country, we do have some early April snow with a weak clipper system moving across the Great Lakes, bringing some moderate snow that could develop into Michigan, maybe even parts of the Adirondacks. This system will continue to move off the New England coast tomorrow. And we're talking about even some light to moderate lake effect snow that can develop, where we see those higher bands of precipitation that can develop in that area area. And we do have that cold air in the Northeast. 16 million people are being impacted over the Midwest into parts of the Ohio and the Tennessee River Valley with those freeze watches, frost advisory this morning. Temperatures in the 30s in Pittsburgh, Detroit. We're also talking about temperatures in New York and Washington, D.C. in the 40s. So that colder than average temperature will continue today into tomorrow, perhaps even colder than today. And then some April warmth will start to move into the area with temperatures that will slowly climb up. And in fact, next week, most of the country will be hopefully enjoying warmer than average temperatures across the country.
Bring those to New York.
Yes, so we're expecting 80s possibly next week.
There you go. Love it. Okay, thanks so much. Well, the newest queens of the court have been crowned in this year's NCAA tournament. The UCLA Bruins have won their very first women's championship on college basketball's biggest stage. They shocked the nation by blowing out South Carolina 79-51 yesterday afternoon. It was total domination from the very start. UCLA took an early first quarter lead and never trailed the Gamecocks once the entire game. The Bruins were led by a roster of senior superstars who combined to score every point of their final two games. That includes Lauren Betts, who was named the tournament's most outstanding player. On the men's side, the national championship game between UConn and Michigan is scheduled for tonight in Indianapolis, but I bet you already knew that. There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, Pope Leo pushing for peace in his first Easter as pontiff will share his message. But up first, after the break, over the moon, NASA's Artemis II crew sharing these incredible images from space just hours from its next major milestone. We will have an update ahead of today's big lunar flyby. We'll be right back. We are back now with the latest from space as NASA's Artemis II mission prepares to make history today. Very early this morning, the crew on the Orion spacecraft officially entered the moon's sphere of gravitational influence. That means the pull of the moon is stronger than the pull from Earth. And that means they're not only hours away from their lunar flyby, but they're also expected to set the record for the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth this afternoon. Our NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has the latest from Mission Control in Houston. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. This is it. This is Mission Day 6. This is the day NASA has been preparing for, and this is what this entire mission has been building up to. The day that the Orion crew flies very close to the far side of the moon. But before that, they're going to, at 1 o'clock or so Eastern time, set the record for the farthest distance astronauts have ever flown from the Earth, flying farther than even the Apollo 13 crew did by about another 4,100 miles. So that's the first record. And then in the 2 o'clock hour, the lunar flyby starts. And again, this is on the far side of the moon, 4,000 to 6,000 feet above the lunar surface. It's going to go on for about 7 hours in total with the crew about 4,000 to 6,000 miles above the moon. And that will allow them to get a big wide view, a big long view of the moon, better than what the Apollo astronauts had because, of course, they were flying so low they could only see what was right out their window. This time they're going to be a lot further up. And by the way, using the latest and best photographic cameras, digital cameras, to document everything. About 35 targets that NASA has laid out that they want to see perfectly photographed if they can from that elevation. There's going to be an interesting moment within that lunar flyby. NASA says that they will lose comms with the crew of Orion for about 40 minutes or so. That's expected. Nothing unusual about that. They lose comms from time to time, even with the crew on the space station. But as they fly around the far side of the moon, they'll be in radio darkness just for about 40 minutes. And then they'll come out and they'll be on their trajectory to come back to Earth. And again, the whole plan is splashdown in the Pacific on Friday. But it all builds up to today, and they are going to be taking thousands of photographs of the far side of the moon. Don't say dark side. That was a great Pink Floyd album. The far side of the moon today, and we're all looking forward to seeing it all. Savannah, back to you.
Oh, we sure are looking forward to it, Tom. Thank you so much. And also, Tom got the opportunity to speak with the 4 astronauts on the Artemis II mission. Now that they're on the brink of an unprecedented step in space exploration, the crew says they are both excited and humbled by the experience.
97,000 miles from the moon, the Artemis II crew took time out for a space selfie shot through their window from the ship's solar array.
We all look forward to getting your Christmas card come December.
On Saturday, we talked to Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen in deep space.
Hey, Tom, it's great to hear your voice all the way up here, 155,000 nautical miles from Earth.
I'm told this is the farthest interview ever conducted in history, and I'm wondering, how does it feel right now to be in a place that nobody has been since 1972?
The Earth is almost in full eclipse, the moon is almost in full daylight, and the only way you could get that view is to be halfway between the two entities. It is truly awe-inspiring up here.
And just pairing that with how much we miss and love our families and knowing that they're looking up and seeing the same moon, it's a pretty amazing feeling.
Can you sleep in space when you are finally at this moment that you've been so excited about and working for so long?
For me, sleeping in space is one of the most comfortable ways to sleep.
The crew has sent back stunning photographs of the approaching moon and the majestic Earth they've left behind.
We heard a rumor up here that it is actually Saturday back on Earth. It's just a truly remarkable sight.
How will you describe this moment to your families, your grandkids, many years from now?
The key part of human exploration is the human and coming back and sharing the story, and we're going to try our hardest with every single person on planet Earth.
At Mission Control, 20 controllers are monitoring thousands of real-time data points 24/7. One stat Mission Control is looking at very closely here is the Apollo 13, for farthest that any human has ever traveled from Earth, more than 248,000 miles, and whether Orion can beat that number.
We're building upon the giants that started it back in the Apollo era.
We're explorers at heart as human beings, and we really feel like we're exploring out here, and it brings a lot of excitement. And then, right away, you are humbled. The fact that 4 of us get to be out here just brings you to your knees.
All right. Our thanks to Tom Costello for that interview. Coolest interview ever. Later today, get this, the crew is going to actually lose radio communication with Mission Control for about 40 minutes. That's when they're going to be traveling around that far side of the moon. The astronauts and Mission Control, they are not concerned. It is all part of the plan. All right, now on to Pope Leo the 14th. He marked his first Easter as leader of the Roman Catholic Church with an urgent call for peace. Yesterday, he celebrated Mass before tens of thousands of people gathered at the Vatican. Speaking from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope issued a rallying cry against hatred and warned that the world is, quote, becoming accustomed to violence as the war with Iran rages on in the Middle East. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lubanga joins us from Rome with more. Claudio, good morning. Tell us some more of these big moments from Pope Leo's service and how much of the message really was focused on the conflict in the Middle East.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, I will say that throughout Easter service, the Pope made an indirect but very clear reference to what's happening around the world, including, of course, the war with Iran and in the Middle East. During the homily at Mass, he said that sometimes it's easy to forget that God exists when we have so much injustice, evil and cruelty surrounding us in a world, he said, that is ravaged by war and marred by hatred. He then, during the Easter message from the balcony of St. Peter's to the world, well, he cried out for peace. He asked directly, called for leaders to lay down their weapons and choose peace over war, Savannah.
How was the first Easter Mass received by the people who attended, Claudio?
Well, Pope Leo, since the beginning of Holy Week, from Palm Sunday, every homily, every speech that he made was very politically charged. It's very surprising, especially for someone who was always mincing his words, very careful with his words, like Pope Leo. So people who went to Easter service were expecting for him to say something like that. Just take a listen to what a couple of them said. Take a listen.
And I think his message was very appropriate for these times of instability and war. And so we're all very happy to hear his message.
I think the whole world is upside down, and I think the popes and the priests could influence more to stop the wars and to lead the discussions for war.
As you can hear, Savannah, well, people who attended Mass were not only careful about the religious message, but also the political message, and they were not disappointed. Savannah?
Claudio, Pope Leo became the pontiff after Pope Francis died the day after Easter last year. So, I mean, here we are nearing the one-year anniversary of his time as Pope. What has his leadership looked like, and how has it been different from Pope Francis?
Well, Pope Leo and Pope Francis are very, very different both in style and in substance. Essentially, Pope Leo, since he became Pope almost a year ago, he returned to a lot of the traditions that Pope Francis had put aside during his papacy. For instance, Pope Leo went back to live in the Apostolic Palace, in the papal apartments. Pope Francis decided to live in some kind of bed and breakfast inside the Vatican. Pope Leo is returning to the summer residence of the popes in Castel Gandolfo almost every week. Pope Francis never really did that. And also, Pope Leo, just on Holy Week, on Holy Thursday, he returned to the tradition of washing the feet of young priests in the Basilica of St. John the Lateran, something that Pope Francis instead chose to wash the feet of inmates and migrants. As you can see, very different, even in tone. Pope Leo, from the beginning of his papacy, was very, very careful with his words. And that seems to have changed since the beginning of Holy Week. As you heard there, a lot of appeals for peace, including a call for President Trump to look for an off-ramp with a war with Iran. Savannah?
Claudio, also the Pope is calling for an international prayer vigil later this week. What can you tell us?
Well, that's right. He announced that yesterday during Easter Mass. He said that there will be a very special prayer for peace on April the 11th, this coming Saturday, and invited everyone to join in, Savannah.
All right. Claudia Lavanga from Rome for us. Thank you very much. Well, coming up more on Morning News Now, a high-profile thief with an unusual and expensive target.
It's kind of surprising that one person managed to basically single-handedly terrorize an entire industry.
A series of daring furniture heists, now the center of a new documentary. When we come back, more on the man now known as LA's most tasteful burglar. We'll be right back. We are back with a story as stylish as it is shocking and strange. It's now front and center in a new NBC News digital documentary. It's called LA's Most Tasteful Burglar, the case of a mid-century modern furniture thief. Authorities say the suspect in this case didn't just steal, he curated, targeting high-end designer pieces. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more. Liz, good morning.
Well, hey there. This is definitely not your typical thief. We are talking about a man named Zach Vinsler. Those who know him or know of him describe him as stylish, good-looking, but also someone who appears to have some kind of obsession with mid-century modernism, that style of vintage furniture that's become extremely popular and also really expensive.
This is as Hollywood as a story as you can get.
He's been dubbed the most tasteful burglar in Los Angeles.
He wasn't your typical robber. He was like a fashion robber.
This man, seen here on surveillance video, carting away a sofa swiped from an LA vintage furniture store.
Who steals a sofa?
A Beverly Woods store is now missing a sofa, a very, very expensive sofa.
Store owner Paul Behrman says it's a rare 21-piece Roche-Bobois Mahjong sofa worth $58,000.
We had so many people talking about this guy, looking for this guy.
Vintage furniture dealer and restorer Amanda Hallberg says she too was a target.
This is when I ran into a professional grifter who has a complete infatuation with mid-century modernism. The furniture game is crazy.
Mid-century modern furniture, some of the most coveted in the vintage market.
Here's a great piece by Frank Gehry.
This furniture has become almost like art. You could buy an Eames lounge at the beginning of the summer, and by the end of the summer, it has increased in value.
The 1950s and 60s design style, seen in popular television shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Mad Men, has evolved from a simple trend to a full-fledged cult phenomenon.
Instagram is full of people making you jealous with how much rosewood antique they have in their house, and so you feel like you need rosewood antique.
In 2022, a man purchased a classic Togo sofa from Paul and 2 rare and valuable Eames chairs from Amanda. Days later, both transactions were reported as fraudulent.
The order was being delivered to Benjamin in Los Angeles, care of Zach V. Then I start looking up Zach V at this address. That's when I realize Zach Vinsler lives at this exact delivery address.
Paul had also tracked down that same address and confronted Zach Vinsler, the alleged fraudster, at his home.
I pull out my phone and just start recording so I could just show everybody else what was in his apartment.
If you remove the stolen pieces that I know are stolen, because I don't know everything was stolen.
Eventually, Paul says he got his sofa back, but things didn't end there. 5 months later, Zach Vinsler broke into Paul's store, first for that $58,000 sofa, and then again 8 days later.
It's just so weird. Like, look at him shop. He doesn't break anything. He picks the one item he wants out of the case. 2 items, not 1 item, and closes the case.
Now, with Paul's video evidence, police arrested Vinsler and charged him with commercial burglary. Prosecutors later added additional charges, including identity theft related to Amanda's stolen shares and a separate residential burglary. Vinsler pled guilty to those charges, but Paul's were dropped. He was released after 8 months in jail. It would seem to be the end of the story. But then,
this is the man who robbed me. His name is Zach Vinsler.
just a few months later, he was allegedly at it again. This time, one of his purported targets, Victoria Paris, an influencer who often shares about mid-century modern furniture with her 2 million TikTok followers.
This is the scene of the crime.
She says it wasn't long before she heard from a couple who believed they had also been targeted by the same man.
This is him casing their house in the exact same outfit he came to rob my house in. Tote bag, Converse. This is him at my house in the tote bag, Converse. Okay, LAPD, you can't put 2 and 2 together.
Victoria was able to recover one of her bags at a vintage store where employees confirmed Vinsler had sold the item. LAPD declined to comment, saying the investigation is ongoing. NBC News has not been able to reach Vinsler.
It's kind of surprising that one person managed to basically single-handedly terrorize an entire industry.
And what's crazy, we don't know where this guy is. It has been 2 years since he allegedly broke into the home of that influencer, Victoria Paris, and tried to break into that couple's home. In that time, no arrests have been made. So as of now, he is still out there. We do know, though, there's an active warrant out for his arrest because he missed a probation hearing. But there's a whole lot more twist to this case. You can see it all in the full documentary. Back to you.
Liz, so interesting. Thank you so much. And you can catch that documentary on the NBC News app. And there's also this QR code right here. Scan that so you can download or just search for the NBC News in the App Store. Coming up on Morning News Now, TikTok inspiring a religious resurgence.
Come to church with me. Come to church with me.
When we come back, a look at how Gen Z is driving a new interest in the Catholic faith. We'll be right back. We're back now with money news for you. Top lawmakers on Capitol Hill are pushing to keep Chinese automakers out of American markets. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. As China strengthens its grip on the global car market, 3 Democratic senators are urging the president to block Chinese automakers from building vehicles in the U.S. and to keep Chinese-made cars assembled in Mexico or Canada out as well, citing national security and economic concerns. They warn that allowing Chinese companies in could undercut American automakers and potentially expose sensitive data through connected technology. Over in Hollywood, another major shutdown possibly avoided. The Screenwriters Union and major studios have reached a tentative agreement after just weeks of negotiations, far faster than the standoff that lasted months and led to a historic strike in 2023. The deal is expected to include better health care and new protections against artificial intelligence. The agreement still needs final approval, but it comes as other unions negotiate their own contracts, raising the stakes for the entire industry. At the box office, the Super Mario Galaxy movie is leveling up, bringing in more than $370 million globally, making it the biggest opening so far this year. The sequel pulled in $190 million domestically during the holiday stretch, showing just how strong demand is for video game movies, especially from one of Nintendo's most iconic franchises. It's also now the only animated franchise to have 2 titles with such a massive open, with hits like Toy Story and Shrek trailing behind. That's huge, Savannah. And it's bringing so many memories back for me as a kid. I was obsessed with this game, needed to be Princess Peach at all times.
No, I know. People are loving it.
Yeah.
It's good to see and good to get people back to the movies. It's a fun one. Well, data has shown that with each passing year, fewer and fewer Americans identify as regular churchgoers. But a lot of Gen Z is bucking that trend. During the season of Lent, which ends with the celebration of Easter, which of course was just yesterday, scenes of young people filling Catholic churches across the country are flooding social media. It's part of a growing new trend among young adults. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has a closer look at why Gen Z is embracing Catholicism.
In New York City on Sunday nights, these are the scenes at St. Joseph's Church. Young people packed in.
I think there was over 1,000 people.
With videos like these filling feeds.
Don't sit on the balcony or you're going to be in a 20-minute traffic jam. I go to St. Joe's.
22-year-old content creator Anthony Gross says he's been Catholic his whole life. He's never seen anything like this. A crush of young people at Mass in Manhattan.
The entire place was packed. There's people standing in the back, and it's all people 20 to probably max 30 years old. Like, I've never been exposed to this stuff.
Gross says he's found community with other young Catholics, not just at Mass, but on TikTok.
Come to church with me.
Come to church with me. Sharing his journey with his 48,000 followers.
A couple months ago, I was visiting and ranking every Catholic church in the Big Apple.
According to the New York Times, dioceses in Iowa, Michigan, and Texas are seeing their highest numbers of new Catholics in decades. But nationwide, a more nuanced picture. According to a 2025 Pew Research survey, 12% of today's young adults have actually switched out of Catholicism. And overall, the survey found America has been in a religious decline for decades.
Each new generation of young adults, each new cohort of young adults has been less religious than their parents and their grandparents before them.
So overall, would you say America is becoming less religious?
It's very interesting. Overall, over the long term, over the last few decades, yes. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we have entered and have been in a period of religious stability.
As for Gross,
The world's turning back to God, and Gen Z's at the head of it.
he's excited to see where his generation and New York City's young Catholic community go next.
I know that the future looks bright, and I think the trajectory that Gen Z is on right now is really, really powerful.
Well, content creators we talk to say that technology and that need for human connection have driven people back to the church. Pew Research actually suggests something else, that the stabilization of religion in America happened around the time of COVID, that the pandemic actually served to strengthen people's faith.
All right. Thank you very much, Aaron. For more, let's bring in Elizabeth Dias. She's a reporter with the New York Times. She has covered Gen Z's return to church as well as just this surge of new converts. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. I loved in your reporting, I know one cardinal told you that in answering why are we seeing this, their response was, of course, we think it's because of the Holy Spirit. What did you find in your reporting?
It was fascinating. You know, I talk to bishops and priests all over the country often. And in the last few months, I started hearing the same thing over and over. You know, we're having more brand new converts join the church this Easter, and everyone was trying to figure out why. The converts that I spoke to would mention not something macro and huge like the new Pope in Rome from Chicago, Pope Leo. But they would mention, you know, they wanted community. They wanted to raise their family in the church. They wanted to have a marriage that was based in the Catholic Church's teachings. And I really think the pandemic had something to do with this. There was a loneliness that many people felt, and that has only grown over the last few years since then. So it's been a big encouragement for the bishops, of course, but also to these families. And it over and over, every single diocese that I contacted, their numbers were up for the number of brand new converts entering the church during the Easter Vigil ritual, which is every night before Easter Sunday.
I'm fascinated by the TikTok element here. We just saw this in Aaron's piece, playing a bunch of these videos because They're sort of done in the style, like right next to a get ready with me video where somebody's, showing all the stuff they're putting on their face as they're getting themselves ready. Right next to that is a come to church with me video. I'm sure this is probably welcome news for a lot of parents who are wondering what their kids are seeing on TikTok. But how much of an impact do you think this has on the younger generation to see content like this in a place that they are already seeing and spending so much time?
Well, the internet's an incredibly powerful force, and I would hear from priests that the young people, especially coming into the church over Easter, would tell them, they weren't getting taught about the church necessarily first from their local congregation, right, going to mass or something like that. They were encountering priests and influencers who were Catholic, who had messages online, podcasts, and that just took off in a way. They can teach people in a new form that was really resonating with where young people physically are, during their day, which is in front of their smartphone or their computer, and looking for community there. So I think the technology has sort of two ends, right? On the one hand, it has made people more hopeful to try to find an in-person community, right, to deal with the loneliness that technology can inspire. And also, it's been a very powerful evangelistic tool for the Catholic Church.
I thought it was so interesting, as I'm a Christian myself, and we call it church shopping when you're like kind of looking for a new church. And living in New York City, it's tough sometimes. It's this big city, and even there's so many people that can feel lonely. So making these videos, like I ranked all the Catholic churches. I mean, it's just a fascinating use of the platform. Are you seeing this trend really with Gen Z, or are more older Americans sort of converting, turning up at the Catholic Church for the first time as well in this trend?
The church didn't have specific data on that, but anecdotally, when I was talking with the bishops in the different regions, they all mentioned that specifically younger generations, especially young men, were coming back or coming to the church for the first time. So that seemed to stand out for them. But, I definitely spoke with up to the age of, around 50, I think, for that story, who were making similar choices.
Elizabeth Dias, fascinating conversation, a great one to have just after Easter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up on Morning News Now, a heartfelt goodbye to a part of Buffalo Bills history.
That's what makes it so special, is because what it means to the fans and the city of Buffalo.
Up next, we're going to take you to Buffalo, where the Bills Mafia now has the chance to own a piece of the old Highmark Stadium. Stay with us. We are back now with the end of an era in Buffalo, New York. The Bills Highmark Stadium, packed with decades of memories. It's now coming down piece by piece, but get this. From the seats fans cheered in to the field where legends played, all that, it's up for sale now and finding new homes with fans. Sam Brock has more.
5 decades of memories and sparks flying at Highmark Stadium between fans and their beloved Buffalo Bills have now come down to pieces. Seats, signs, fixtures, benches, bathroom troughs, even the ground that players competed on. All for sale to a fan base that has few parallels. As Bills Mafia moves to a sparkling new stadium this fall.
Everything in this stadium is special.
Renowned collector Brandon Steiner is the man tapped to sell off Western New York history.
What is the primary reason you're doing this?
I mean, my main focus has to be, and always has been, is to make sure that every Bills fan has an opportunity to get something to have from Highmark Stadium, remember it.
Steiner's undertaken similar projects, from the old Yankee Stadium to a Madison Square Garden renovation. Thousands of items authenticated by his collectibles exchange, including full stadium seats, section signs, even cuts of the turf, selling for up to thousands of dollars.
You got to think about what's happened on this turf and what will remind you about those great moments when you're sitting in your Buffalo Bill chairs. It's pretty cool.
Just ask the duo known as the Chefs, pointing out their seats.
Right out back there where the Bills sign is in the end zone against the wall, we sit right there.
Rich Peterson and Derek Norman, season ticket holders for 25 years, who will own their first row spots, along with some other Orchard Park swag.
I want to give you this nice little bleacher seat here as a little gift from us.
You don't have to junk it, Somebody's junk is somebody else's treasure.
I got some grandkids, and I think they would like it and look back. Yeah, my granddad used to sit in this seat.
For Jerry Young, another decades-long season ticket holder who hosts tailgates out of tricked-out buses, the Highmark mementos will always be treasured.
It's something that, brings back great memories of being here, different games, and how much fun with friends and family I've had here.
Bills legends, quarterback Jim Kelly and running back Thurman Thomas are signing the same seats fans used to sit in to cheer them on.
The memories just keep coming back, and all good memories. The people that went day in and day out, that went to the stadium, sat in these chairs, and the memories that they have.
Because of what it means to people in Buffalo,
yes,
is sort of like a religious experience going there.
And I think that's what makes it so special, is because what it means to the fans and the city of Buffalo. It means a lot.
For that one-of-a-kind breed of fan, it also means that the fabric of a team's history, written into its seats and all over its field, will remain exactly where it should be, right at home. Sam Brock, NBC News, Buffalo.
Oh, just so cool. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thank you so much for kicking off your work week with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off today. Right now on Morning News Now, Moonshot, a lunar milestone for the intrepid crew of Artemis 2, crossing into the moon's sphere of influence. Overnight, now being pulled in by its gravity. And later today, the mission's climax, when humanity will get its clearest view yet of the far side of the moon. Our Tom Costello is covering it all in just a moment. Utterly unhinged, a profane proclamation from President Trump ramping up the rhetoric on Iran. The commander-in-chief issuing a vulgar Easter Sunday threat on social media. Reopen the Strait of Hormuz or Iran will be living in hell. More ahead of his planned remarks this afternoon, including how the war is impacting wallets here at home beyond just the price at the pump. Plus, the women of UCLA basketball making history after doling out an absolute championship clinic last night against South Carolina for their first NCAA title. And tonight, the men of Michigan and underdog darlings UConn converge for a winner-takes-all showdown you do not want to miss. It all comes down to this. And later in the hour, why a whole lot of eagle-eyed New Yorkers are flocking to Manhattan's Bryant Park, all for a fleeting glimpse of the city's newest it bird. I can tell you from experience of heading to Bryant Park, there is a crowd all around this little planter. It's really something to see. We're going to start this hour, though. This is so exciting, with this historic day for NASA's Artemis 2 mission on its journey around the moon. The clock is ticking down to the highly anticipated lunar flyby happening later today. The 4 astronauts in their Orion spacecraft will pass behind the far side of the moon, even losing radio contact with mission control for more than half an hour. Our NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello is at the Johnson Space Center in Houston with all the latest. Tom, good morning. So exciting. Walk us through this timeline.
Yeah. Hey, Savannah. Good morning to you. So at this very moment, the astronauts inside Orion are asleep, but they have now been pulled into the moon's gravitational pull. And so this whole thing will begin at 2 o'clock. That's when they'll start the journey around the far side of the moon. But before then, in fact, just before 2, they will fly farther from Earth than any humans ever, beating the Apollo 13 record by 4,100 miles. This morning, countdown to the far side. The Orion crew sending back this one last look at Earth as they spent Easter speeding towards the moon in deep space.
It's a time of emotions such as joy, as well as solemnness.
On Sunday, all 4 astronauts donned their pressurized orange crew survival suits.
We are fully suited.
A critical test in the event of a future decompression emergency. But their entire 252,000-mile journey to the moon has all been building to today. At 2:45 p.m. Eastern, Orion will be flying 4,000 to 6,000 miles above the lunar surface, giving astronauts the widest, best view ever to photograph the far side of the moon. For 7 hours, the crew will work in pairs taking photos. At 7:02 p.m., the crew will make their closest approach to the moon. At 7:07, they'll be the farthest from Earth. At 8:35, the moon will eclipse the sun. And by 9:20, the flyby is over. Later today, when the Orion crew passes around the far side of the moon, Mission Control will lose contact. 40 minutes of radio silence. But the crew and Mission Control insist temporarily losing contact is not unusual and nothing to worry about.
Hey, Tom, it's great to hear your voice all the way up here, 155,000 nautical miles from Earth.
On Saturday, we talked to the entire crew with the moon on their horizon. What are your emotions as you look back at Mother Earth?
You know, right away, you are humbled. The fact that 4 of us get to be out here just brings you to your knees.
Sonny Williams, who spent 286 days stuck in space, says this Orion test flight is critical.
Test missions are needed just to make sure we really understand all the systems. You can put everything together on the ground, but really not know exactly how things are going to work in that environment.
Yeah, bottom line, remember that, of course, Sonny's spaceship developed problems, and that's why she was stuck in space. And that's why she says it's so critical that they do these test flights, because eventually they want to land humans on the moon in 2028. Let me also make the point, and this is kind of cool, that you may be thinking, wait a minute, we did send astronauts around the far side of the moon in the Apollo days. Yes, but they were so low to the moon, they could only see right out their window. They didn't get the big, wide view of the moon. And so now they get that. And, of course, with today's cameras, they'll get phenomenal imagery. Last note, Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, who's on board, just was awarded his gold astronaut wings yesterday. He's the only one of the 4 people on board that ship who had never flown in space before. Savannah?
Well, what a mission to do it. Tom, thank you so much. For more on what to expect from the Artemis II mission today, I am joined by our friend of the show and former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino. Mike, I'm so happy to have you here on set.
Happy to be here.
I've been dying to chat with you in person about this.
Me too, actually. I'm glad we get a chance to do this.
Happy to
it's
hear.
Cool.
Okay, first just tell me, how excited are you that, like, just in a matter of hours, breaking this record for humans that are farthest away from Earth? How big of a deal is that?
It's a pretty big deal. We haven't been anywhere near that in over 50 years. And where we've been is in low Earth orbit, about 250 miles above the planet, our planet. They're going to be about 250,000 miles away. So we've been less than 0.1% the distance that these folks are going to be. And we haven't been to that distance. And they're going to be going further than where we were 50 years ago. Apollo 13 had the record, and they're going to break that record. But I'm very excited. I'm more excited about this than I think I am for my own space flights. It was just, it's so great to finally, after all these years of wanting to get to this point, to get there, to be where we're not just going for a visit to the moon, but we're laying the groundwork of understanding the moon and the systems and the spacecraft and how humans can do that far away from the planet, how our body works out there, and how we can protect ourselves from radiation and other things. That leads to not just visits, but to staying there, to setting up a
which is the eventual
presence.
plan here with the Artemis program.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about when they see the moon that up close. There are just a couple of these tiny little windows. I think it's kind of funny. They're like working in pairs to basically get their time at the window. First, I'm wondering just can you even imagine the emotion, what it's going to feel like when they get that first, like, really great glimpse? And second, you were telling me how, they're also working in pairs because it is work. Like, they have tasks while they are looking out that window.
Those are interesting questions because it sets up the dilemma you have, in that you have a job to do, but at the same time, you're experiencing something that is so extraordinary. It's going to be the coolest day of their life, probably. Right? My coolest days were spacewalking and looking around where I was above the planet. So where they are, it's going to be just an amazing experience, but they have to do their work. So as far as what they're going to be seeing, can you only imagine? They're going to be looking at things that people have never seen before, human eyes have never laid upon before. And luckily, they're a pretty expressive crew, all 4 of them. So I think they'll describe it pretty well as best they can, but it's going to be hard to really explain all that. And I think the images we'll see are going to be extraordinary. They've been training for this part of the mission. They've been training for all different aspects, but training for this part of the mission has been a big part of it. Not just the working all the emergencies that could happen and how the spacecraft's going to handle, but the science part of it, the reconnaissance they're going to be doing around the moon. And I think it's going to be pretty intense. You know, this idea that they're going to be taking these breaks in small windows, I think it's also just to relieve them, because they're going to be looking very intently for things that no one's not really sure what they're going to be seeing, right? So they're going to be looking for differences in color, differences in texture, the craters, any lava flows, anything like that they spot. They're going to be taking photographs of it, imaging all that stuff. So they're going to be working hard. And I think, like, after about an hour or so, your brain's on fire doing that, and they need a break. And I think that's part of the reason. All right, next two come in. Go get some exercise and relax.
Get out of my window
Get something to eat and
space.
relax, and get some exercise, and come back in an hour. So I think there's going to be this relief going on.
The way y'all
because they're
keep
gonna
up
be
with
really
your
intense.
exercise in space is also something that just baffles me.
Yeah, it's important. You got to get your exercise, and it's a little bit tricky because you don't want to shake the spaceship too much when you're doing that.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I also want to ask, just because I think to all of us, we're like, what? That sounds so scary. This whole losing communication with mission control for that 40 minutes or so.
That's not scary. And I think it'll be relief. Okay, we can, we don't have to worry about what we're saying for a while. They'll be recording everything, though, so everything will be whatever they see out the window. They'll be fine, and it gives everybody a little break. A little break. We always in the control center too. They'll have a little bit of a break to go out, do whatever they need to do for a few minutes. So no, it's not scary. It's just the way it is, and they'll come out of it in about 40 minutes or so and tell everybody what they missed.
That's so cool. And I just cannot wait to get the quality of images that we'll now get from a lunar mission.
Yeah, the pressure's on for these folks, right?
Right.
But if they mess up the photos, imagine that. That's going to be terrible.
Yeah, their thumbs.
So, hey, man, we sent you guys all the way there.
The lens.
What you guys? It wouldn't be the first time astronauts mess things up, right? So. I think they're going to really take the time to make sure they're doing it right, and I think we are going to get some spectacular views of what they see.
So exciting!
They're also getting an eclipse out of this, by the way. There's going to be an eclipse for about an hour, an eclipse of the sun by the moon, which will allow them to study both the sun and the moon. So that's
incredible.
an added bonus.
All right, we're going to want you all week, okay? We've got a lot to chat about.
Sure, you got it.
Thanks, Mike.
I love being
Always
here.
good to see you.
Thanks, man.
Let's switch gears now and move over to the latest on the war with Iran. President Trump is expected to host a news conference at the White House later today as he ramps up his threats to strike civilian infrastructure if Iran refuses to make a deal to end the war and to open that critical Strait of Hormuz. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us from Washington with this part of the story. Hey, Gabe, good morning.
Hey there, Savannah. Good morning. In a text message to NBC News, the president calling the rescue of that second crew member over the weekend an Easter miracle. Now, shortly after that, he posted a profane threat to Iran on social media, warning of another dramatic escalation in this war. But overnight, there have been new reports of frantic diplomatic efforts to avoid that. This morning, as the war in Iran rages, the Associated Press reporting that Iran and the U.S. have received a proposal calling for a 45-day ceasefire and the reopening of the crucial Strait of Hormuz, according to two Mideast officials. The proposal, the AP reports, was sent by mediators from Egypt, Pakistan, and Turkey, aiming to buy time as all sides try to figure out a way to end the war. Overnight, President Trump telling Axios that the U.S., quote, is in deep negotiations, adding there is a good chance, but if they don't make a deal, I am blowing up everything over there.
If they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back.
Negotiators are under pressure to reach some agreement by President Trump's new deadline for a deal to reopen the strait, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. The president again threatening to destroy civilian infrastructure, posting on Easter. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the expletive strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Democratic critics calling the president's post completely, utterly unhinged.
Let me tell you what won't reopen the Strait of Hormuz: threatening war crimes of bombing indiscriminately power plants, cursing at Iran.
While most Republicans are standing by him.
He has a lot of backbone, and he's not going to be dissuaded.
Responding to President Trump's message, Iran's parliamentary speaker posting, "Your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family, and our whole region is going to burn." There have been fast-moving developments this morning, Savannah. As for the potential 45-day ceasefire deal in the works, a senior White House official telling me a short time ago that it's one of many options being discussed and that the president has not signed off on it yet. He is expected to face many more questions during that scheduled news conference you mentioned right here at the White House briefing room. later today. Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you. Well, President Trump is also expected to address the successful rescue mission for that U.S. fighter jet crew member during his news conference this afternoon. President Trump announced this weekend that U.S. forces had safely rescued the second crew member aboard the fighter jet that went down over Iran on Friday. It was one of several posts from the president this weekend, including that profanity-laced threat against Iran's civilian infrastructure unless they strike a deal to end the war and open the Strait of Hormuz. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Goss joins us from Tel Aviv, Israel, with more. Steph, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. I am actually in Haifa, and I want to show you something. That's northern Israel. There has been this incredible scene unfolding. This is what happens to a building when an Iranian rocket gets through the Israeli defense system and hits a building, completely leveling it. The Israeli military has been there all night and through today. They've been searching through the rubble. They tell us 4 people died and there were a number of injuries. In the last 24 hours, there has been this intense back and forth of rocket fire between the U.S., Israel, and Iran as this war enters its 6th week.
The clock is ticking down to President Trump's latest deadline for Iran, as new details are emerging from the dramatic rescue of 2 American airmen in a remote corner of southwest Iran. Their F-15 fighter jet was shot down Friday, according to the U.S. military. The pilot recovered within hours, but the weapons officer, a colonel who was seriously injured, had to hide in a mountain crevice, according to President Trump's account, waiting for help for more than 24 hours as the Iranians searched the area, placing a bounty on his head. A senior administration official says the U.S. knew where the airman was, but needed time to plan the dangerous recovery operation. The CIA spreading false reports that the colonel had already been rescued in an effort to confuse Iranian officials, so hundreds of special U.S. forces and dozens of aircraft could pull him out. Iranian media claiming these images are of aircraft including 2 AC-130s, which the U.S. military reportedly left behind and then destroyed. The Pentagon has not confirmed the report to NBC News. 2 U.S. officials say an A-10 Warthog was also shot down during the rescue of the airman, that pilot ejecting over Kuwait, and that 2 additional American Black Hawk helicopters came under fire, suggesting Iran still has air defenses. With the war now entering its 6th week, the U.S. and Israeli bombing campaign is not letting up. Iranian news reporting that more than 24 people were killed in strikes this morning in multiple locations. And in Israel, a search is on for survivors in an apartment building in the north. Israel's military says an Iranian rocket pierced its defenses, landing a deadly blow.
Israeli government officials say they targeted and assassinated the head of intelligence for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Major General Majid Hademi, and he had actually taken over that job, Savannah, from the last head of intelligence who was killed in June after the 12-day war. Israel is vowing to go after Iran's leadership one by one. Savannah.
All right, Steph, thank you very much. Well, retired Colonel Steve Warren joins us here on set for a closer look at the U.S. military campaign. He's an NBC News military analyst and former Pentagon spokesperson. Good morning. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Happy to have you on set. Let's start with this incredible rescue mission. We actually heard in a text to NBC News from President Trump. This is what he said. He said, such a rescue has never happened before in so violent an enemy territory. It is usually not done because it is considered not doable. Put that in context for us. How difficult is a mission like this? We know it involved military and CIA. Walk us through what we know at this point about how this unfolded.
Yeah, super complicated mission. And really, I think what everyone should hear first is how much this mission talks about the American warfighting ethos, right? Hundreds of American service members willingly put themselves at risk to retrieve just one downed aviator. And they did that as if it were just another day at the office. And that's part of how we train. We never leave a fallen comrade. The other piece of that ethos is I will never quit. And that colonel, after he was shot down, spent a day and a half hiding from the Iranians. He never quit.
And just how complicated would the execution of this be with those different factions? We mentioned CIA, which is interesting because my understanding is that there would be a way to locate this service member, even without the help of the CIA. But walk us through how that all came together.
So many moving pieces. The CIA did two things. Number one, apparently, based on reporting that we're seeing, is they helped spread disinformation to the Iranians, so that the Iranians maybe looked left when they should have been looking right. The other piece is they have some good pieces of high technology that helped us pinpoint specifically where this downed aviator was. But in addition, you had Army, you had Air Force, and apparently you had Navy personnel also operating it inside of this little theater to help secure the area and prevent any Iranians from getting close. And finally, even the Space Force has a piece of this because they have some special technologies that also helped.
Let's talk about Iran's air defenses. We heard in Steph's piece there, not only, of course, the initial downing of fighter jets that meant that there was this rescue mission underway for those pilots, but then the fire that the rescue operation came under as well. What does that mean about Iran's current air defenses? Are we hearing sort of an exaggeration at all from the president or the defense secretary that we've sort of voided Iran's air defense ability?
It's easy to sometimes get lost in the technology and in the terminology. So air superiority, what that means is that we can enter airspace, we can fly around in that airspace generally freely, but it doesn't mean we're flying in the friendly skies. They still have, the Iranians still have capabilities, and there's a lot of types of air defense. You have to think about that. Some of their most high-tech systems, which are radar-guided, have been destroyed. In fact, a majority of them have.
Okay.
But the lower-tech systems, they're still out there, and that could be as simple as a machine gun.
Wow. All right. Colonel Steve Warren, always wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us on set.
Thank you very much.
Well, NBC News contributor Houman Maj joins us now with more analysis on the ongoing war with Iran. Good morning, Houman. Always wonderful to have you with us as well. I want to start with life inside Iran. Our viewers may remember, and we discussed this ourselves, when the U.S. and Israel first launched these strikes against Iran over 5 weeks ago now, President Trump had told Iranians to seize this moment for regime change. Where are we at on that front at this point in the war?
Well, we're at zero. There is no regime change, and the Iranian people are not rising up, mainly because they're being bombarded every night. I mean, Tehran, the biggest city, the capital, where there could be potentially a regime change, where there could be an uprising, people taking over, for example, the state television, taking over parliament, things like that. None of that is happening. Nobody is going out on the streets to protest even against the regime. If there's any protest, it's actually against the war. And I think that is sort of obvious if you're being bombed every night, every single night, and with missiles and actually bombs. It's unlikely that you're going to be able to find a way to change a regime, even if you wanted to. And secondly, there's really no leadership inside Iran that is able to bring people together in order to bring about regime change. If you're an Iranian sitting in Tehran hearing bombs going off, you're kind of waiting, if you're for regime change, for someone to say, this is what we need to do. And that's not happening because there is no leadership inside Iran for regime change.
And no real form of communication, right? I mean, we've still seen this internet blackout going on in Iran. How does that mean Iranians are getting information about the war or would even be able to communicate about something like you just laid out?
Well, it would be difficult. I mean, cell phones work in inside Iran, and there is some ability to get information from abroad. There are certain VPNs that work, for example, inside Iran to get, if you can access that VPN, if you can buy that VPN, as it is the same way in China, you can get information out. We're seeing things come out. Of course, the state television is also obviously putting out a lot of information for people. So they're seeing destruction. They're seeing what's happening with the war. If they're in one part of Tehran or another part of Tehran is being bombed. But in general, information does get out and people are on Twitter. Iranians inside Iran are on Twitter. There are journalists. The Financial Times has a couple of journalists inside Iran. Sky News sent a journalist into Iran. Al Jazeera has people inside Iran. So all this is getting out to some degree. And people inside Iran do have access to a lot of that information too. Not everyone does, obviously, and the internet is crawling and very difficult and intermittently available to even people with the VPNs. But information does find a way to get through. And then, of course, there is also Starlink. There are plenty of Starlink terminals that have been shipped into Iran by the United States, by various friendly nations, and people have access to that as well.
Yeah, I do think, though, it's a good point that I think a lot of people, though, do not have access to those things. And there is still this purposeful blackout, making it impossible for people who even have family in Iran and live elsewhere to be able to get in touch with them and understand if they're okay. Let's talk through these threatened U.S. strikes on civilian infrastructure. This timeline that the president has put on opening that Strait of Hormuz 8 p.m. tomorrow or else. And we're anticipating hearing from the president today. Tell us your reaction to that.
Well, I mean, it's funny because even the Iranians, both inside and in the diaspora, who were for this military intervention, what it was originally called, by, for example, the former Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who has a lot of support outside of Iran and some support inside Iran. Even those people are saying this is ridiculous. If you bomb infrastructure, not only is it a war crime, but that's not what we were expecting with this military intervention. So it's going to be highly, highly unpopular, even among those who hate the regime, as is evidenced already by people who are coming out and saying this is ridiculous, this is a war crime, and don't destroy what we want. The people who are for regime change, please don't destroy what we want to then take over. Last night, for example, Sharif University in Tehran was bombed. It's the MIT of Iran. Many of its graduates are in Silicon Valley right now, working in high-tech firms. The idea that university was bombed for the Iranians is also just sort of unbelievable. And that's also an infrastructure. It's considered an infrastructure. The petrochemical plant in Iran, the major petrochemical plant, was bombed by Israel last night. The Israeli defense minister came out and said that they bombed the biggest petrochemical plant. If Trump does go through with these threats, and it's not clear that he will because of what we were talking about earlier. I think that it's going to be a major disaster for the Iranian people. Power will go out. If you're talking about the internet being out, if power goes out, even the VPNs aren't going to work. Nothing's going to work. Cell phones aren't going to work. So it's going to be a real disaster. And of course, Iran has said they're going to hit back in the region and destroy desalination plants in the region. They're going to hit, infrastructure in our allies in the region, in the Emirates, in Qatar, in Bahrain. So it's potentially a disaster. I don't know what's going to happen with this 45-day ceasefire proposal. Not sure that the Iranians have any inclination to agree to a ceasefire, given that they feel that they're got the upper hand right now.
All right, Human Maj, thank you very much. We've got all the details now for the week ahead with your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. And we're going to begin here along the Gulf Coast, where we have a lot of tropical moisture that's mixing with some instability. That's going to set the stage really for a couple of days of that heavy rainfall, those thunderstorms that will continue to impact this region as the slow-moving front advances through the peninsula. We're going to see high hourly rainfall rates that could lead to some flash flooding. So that's a major concern for today, tomorrow, into Wednesday. Another concern are those strong easterly winds. They're going to be pushing the water onshore. Of course, that could lead to those dangerous rip current conditions, especially here along the Atlantic coast of Florida, and also that high surf. So beachgoers, spring breakers, you want to make sure you're always looking out for those flags. If you see that double red flag, that means do not go into the water at all. As far as the rainfall forecast, well, we're talking about locally maybe 5+ inches that could fall throughout the next couple of days, all the way from Daytona Beach into southern Florida. Some of this, of course, is that beneficial rainfall that we do need in the state of Florida, which is almost 80% in extreme drought conditions. But of course, too much of a good thing all at once could actually lead to those dangerous conditions. So we'll be monitoring that. And we're also monitoring some of that early April snow up here along the northern tier of the country as this weak clipper system moves through across the Great Lakes into parts of the Northeast. Tomorrow, we have some moderate snowfall that can develop, and that's going to be possibly along the Great Lakes. We could have some lake effect snow in that area that could bring accumulations of over 3 to 4 inches downwind of the Lake Erie, Lake Ontario between today and tomorrow. Of course, that cold air is funneling in behind that cold front, and we do wake up this morning with 16 million people impacted with some freeze watches, some frost advisories. We're talking about colder than average temperatures in that region from the plains into parts of the northern plains into parts of the Great Lakes and into the northeast. And tomorrow morning probably be even colder than today. But by the end of the week, some of that April warmth will be stretching from the west into the central part of the country and approaching much of the lower 48s by next week with warmer than average temperatures. However, we are expecting wetter than average conditions as well for next week. So get those umbrellas ready.
All right. A lot going on, Andrea.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, here at NBC, we are happy to share that today co-anchor Savannah Guthrie is back in the anchor chair this morning for the first time in more than 2 months.
Good morning. Welcome to Today on this Monday morning. We are so glad you started your week with us, and it is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back at home.
Well, here we go. Ready or not?
Yeah.
Let's do the news.
Yes.
Savannah stepped away from the desk in early February after her 84-year-old mother, Nancy, disappeared from her home in Tucson, Arizona. In her first interview since her mother's disappearance, Guthrie told Hoda Kotb last month that she believed returning to the show is, quote, part of my purpose right now as the search continues for her mother. If you know anything about Nancy's disappearance, please call the hotline, and we're going to pull it up on your screen. There is more to come on this Monday edition of Morning News Now, including a royal reunion over in the UK that's turning the celebration of Easter into a family affair. First, though, after the break, the women of UCLA basketball making history on the court last night. But tonight, it's UConn taking on Michigan in a March Madness finale that you won't want to miss. We're covering it all up next. Welcome back in overseas news. There was a very public moment at Windsor Castle for the royal family. Prince William and Princess Kate, along with their 3 children, made a highly anticipated return to Easter services on Sunday. NBC's Today anchor Chanel Jones has the latest. Chanel, good morning.
Hey there. Easter has been a staple on the royal calendar, but the last time we saw the family of 5 at this annual church service was in 2023. Now they're back in the spotlight with the 3 young royals making their first public appearance of the year. It was a royal family affair at Windsor Castle. Prince William, Princess Kate, and their 3 children making their return to Easter service at St. George's Chapel, dressed in their Sunday best. In their first public outing since Christmas, the young royals, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, seen walking alongside their parents, the 10-year-old princess smiling and waving to the crowds. King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived to the church soon after. The 77-year-old monarch blowing a kiss to his grandchildren and sharing this sweet moment before making his way inside with other royals. Princess Kate's return to the beloved Easter tradition is a welcome turn of events.
She is such an anchor for the royal family.
The last time she and her family attended Easter service was back in 2023. They skipped the event in 2024 following Kate's cancer diagnosis.
I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery.
And last year, after announcing her cancer was in remission.
Doing what I can to stay cancer-free is now my focus.
They spent the holiday at their country home.
Both William and Kate have been incredibly visible since the start of the year, really. She gave herself the time that she needed.
Noticeably absent, the king's younger brother, the former Prince Andrew, and his family, including daughters Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. Back in February, Andrew was arrested and released on suspicion of misconduct in public office over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The case remains under investigation, and Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing.
It's crucial that the remaining and senior working members of the royal family put on a united front at the moment.
Sunday service more like a royal homecoming for the family of 5, as Will, Kate, and perhaps the most popular young royals make their way back in the spotlight.
Kate looked wonderful, but also very happy to be there and be back at the heart of the royal family with her children. We know how much family matters to her and how important it is that she's out there with them.
Royal experts say we can expect to see a lot more of William and Kate as we head into the summer, including other traditional events like the Royal Ascot and Wimbledon, as well as other public engagements. Back to you.
All right, Chanel, thank you so much. We've got more international news now. Tension is rising in Hungary after explosives were reportedly found near a gas pipeline just days before a critical election. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Hey, Claudio.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, that's right. The Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, has called an emergency meeting after explosives were found in neighboring Serbia close to a pipeline that transports Russian gas to Hungary. But the opposition accused Orban of panic-mongering orchestrated by Russian advisors, as in the weeks before the explosives was found, Hungarian security experts raised the possibility of a staged operation of this kind intended to help Orban and his political party, which is trailing in polls ahead of next Sunday's elections. Let's move now to Germany, where 3 people were killed Sunday after a large tree fell on them while they were on an Easter egg hunt. The police say the dead included a 21-year-old woman and her 10-month-old daughter, who were among a group of 50 people searching Easter eggs in the woods in the north of the country, when a strong gust of wind toppled a nearly 100-foot tree, killing the 3 people and injuring several others. And let's end this tour of the world in Cambodia, where authorities unveiled a statue carved in stone commemorating, well, a popular mine-clearing rat. The rat, called Magawa, sniffed out over 100 landmines and other explosives in Cambodia during his 5-year career before he died at age 8. In 2010, he even received a gold medal for his life-saving devotion to duty. Well, according to the United Nations, this is a really serious story because landmines and other unexploded devices are an ongoing risk for more than 1 million people living in Cambodia. Savannah?
All right, Claudio, thank you so much. Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a fight looming over the next federal budget. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us with more. Hey, Megan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, let's kick things off with President Trump's 2027 budget request, which was released on Friday. Now, Democrats immediately slammed it, arguing that it does not help working Americans. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a statement that Democrats would, quote, fight this budget tooth and nail to ensure it never becomes law. Meanwhile, Senator Jeff Merkley, who's the top Democrat on the Senate Budget Committee, criticized the bill, saying it does not address tackling things like the price of gas and groceries and the national debt. Now, Republicans and Democrats, though, are ultimately going to have to negotiate on this bill as the GOP tries to push it forward. Finally, let's zero in on part of that budget, with President Trump requesting $152 million to reopen Alcatraz as a working prison. Alcatraz is now a museum, but it was previously a notorious prison for decades. Now, let's rewind for a second. A bit less than a year ago, President Trump said that he directed his administration to reopen what he called, quote, a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. Congress is ultimately going to have to approve that funding request in order for it to move forward. Finally, let's turn to the Supreme Court, where a spokesperson confirmed that Justice Samuel Alito fell ill during a March event in Philadelphia. The spokesperson said that the justice agreed with his security team's recommendation to see a doctor out of an abundance of caution before his 3-hour drive home. Alito was checked by a doctor and received fluids for dehydration. And according to the spokesperson, Alito was able to return home that night, and he did not miss oral arguments. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Savannah?
All right, Megan, thank you. We're back now with the ongoing war in Iran and the ripple effects that we're feeling here at home. The conflict has led to higher oil prices, and we're certainly seeing the impact of that at the gas pump. But that may just be the beginning as we march into historic territory. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is here on set with more. Hey, Sam, good morning.
Good morning. So we've certainly seen, Savannah, oil shocks in the past. This is sort of uncharted territory. The International Energy Agency has already declared this the worst oil disruption in history based on the amount of barrels taken off the market every day. While we may think about paying more at the pump as a result, this crisis has such a wider reach, Savannah, from higher airline baggage fees now to selling items on Amazon to the price of produce at the grocery store. The trickle-down effect of oil is turning into a deluge. With the ongoing war in Iran, this morning Americans are facing the ripple effects of rising fuel costs. The average gallon of gas now $4.12, the highest in 4 years. And crude oil now surpassing $110 a barrel as the critical Strait of Hormuz remains closed.
It's just kind of outrageous how much it's jumped recently. And it just seems to be going up every other day.
The price of jet fuel soaring too as airfares are rising. JetBlue and United Airlines are both hiking bag fees, with JetBlue's peak travel price going from $40 to $49, and United's up $10 a bag for domestic flights.
I am paying $150 just on the way there for an extra bag. I'm not happy about it.
Even Amazon citing elevated costs in fuel and logistics, now adding a temporary 3.5% surcharge for third-party sellers, set to take effect later this month. And higher diesel fuel costs are also driving up grocery prices, especially those requiring refrigeration, which consume more energy to transport. In Nashville, store owner Luke Watson says he's preparing to pay more to stock his shelves.
We anticipate it coming. We've started to feel it a little bit.
Some analysts warn the oil shock could slow the economy across the board.
What should the expectation be for the typical consumer in the next couple of weeks or months?
Consumers should expect higher prices, not just at the pump, but starting to bleed through other parts of the supply chain. And that means at the grocery store, that means for airline tickets, but that also means for interest rates.
And big picture, here's another point that can't really get lost here. Even if the Federal Reserve does not raise rates to address this inflation, that does not mean investors aren't going to drive up what you're paying for your 30-year mortgage or your credit cards or your car loans if those are not fixed. When U.S. Treasuries are seen as riskier, as they are right now, the yields on them go up, and that is tied to those financial products. So the bottom line is, your bills could also be going up. Definitely something you'd want to keep an eye on.
For sure. Sam Brock, thank you so much. Let's see on Money News now for you. Polymarket is taking some heat after users bet on the rescue of that missing U.S. airman downed in Iran. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Savannah. Once again, the prediction market is in the spotlight. Polymarket removed the forum following backlash amid the search for that once missing airman. After a fighter jet was shot down over Iran, lawmakers slammed the platform for allowing users to wager on rescue outcomes, and it's raised concerns about national security and ethics. The company says the page has been taken down, but pressure continues to build for more oversight. And more than 700,000 sauté pans sold at major retailers like Costco, Walmart, and Amazon are being recalled. The Granite Stone Diamond Pro Blue pans were found to pose a serious burn risk following reports that a cap on the handle can eject when heated. Nearly 100 incidents have been reported, including at least one injury involving burns and bruising. Consumers should stop using the pans immediately and contact the company for a full refund. Over in the UK, a major music festival is facing backlash. Pressure's mounting to remove Kanye West, also known as Ye, from London's Wireless Festival, following criticism from the UK Prime Minister and growing concern over the rapper's past anti-Semitic remarks. Pepsi and other major brands have already pulled their sponsorship. We reached out and haven't yet heard back from the festival, but Savannah, the festival's not until July, so we do still have some time to see if more brands pull out.
All right, Emily, thank you so much. Well, actress Blake Lively is speaking out this morning after a federal judge dismissed most of the claims in her sexual harassment lawsuit. The suit is against her It Ends With Us director and co-star Justin Baldoni. Last week, the judge tossed out 10 of Lively's 13 claims against Baldoni because she was an independent contractor and not an employee. We'll explain that. Baldoni has denied all of the allegations. For more, let's bring in NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas on this one. Chloe, good morning. Great to see you. First, tell us about how Lively and her legal team are reacting to the judge's decision on this.
So last week, when this 152-page decision, Savannah, came down from the judge, we had all been waiting for weeks. I had been in the courtroom, months ago, watching a lot of this play out with both sides arguing their side of the case, and the judge dismissing 10 out of the 13 counts. Blake Lively's team released a statement saying that this is still a win for them because they still get to go to trial, they still get to go before a jury and fight those claims that they believe deal with retaliation and the fact that they believe that Justin Baldoni and his team tried to smear her. And a statement from Blake Lively's lawyers reads that this case has always been and will remain focused on the devastating retaliation and the extraordinary steps the defendants took to destroy Blake Lively's reputation because she stood up for safety on the set. And that is the case that is going to trial. Then a few days later, she goes on social media, posts this lengthy statement on her Instagram stories saying, I never wanted this, but I need to go fight this for others that don't have the means that I do. So it looks as though this is still rapidly moving to trial next month.
What did that piece about an independent contractor versus an employee mean or have to do with this?
So the fact that she was on a set in New Jersey, not California, that she wasn't an employee of Wayfair, Justin Baldoni's production company, that she was a contractor, that is what the judge cited as to why he tossed out some of those claims like sexual harassment that she could only bring against Baldoni and Wayfair if she indeed had been a full-time employee. And the fact that she was a contractor kept her from being able to bring those. But the three that are still there, in case you guys are wondering, breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting and retaliation. So you could imagine that if this does go to trial, you're going to hear witnesses on her side saying, look, her reputation was intact before it ends with us started. Afterwards, when she, really was able to kind of take control of the film in a way that she thought was positive, that she believes moved the film towards its box office success. She then has always alleged that Justin Baldoni's team launched this massive, intense smear campaign against her. Remember those text messages that we saw in the New York Times in which they said that they wanted to bury Blake Lively? That is the crux of this case right now.
Quickly, walk us through what happens next. I mean, what's fascinating to me is this has been majorly in the court of public opinion, right? And now this is going to go in front of a jury. I'm fascinated by how they're going to find a jury, but also walk us through when we see trial and what happens.
How are you going to find a jury that hasn't heard about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni at this point? Well, May 18th is the trial date, but something big is happening today. At 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock Eastern, both of their legal teams, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal teams separately, are going to have a phone call with the judge to discuss a final time whether or not they can come to some sort of a settlement. So TBD on whether or not that'll happen. But if you look at Blake Lively's statements over the weekend, she says she's going to trial.
All right, Chloe Molas, thank you so much. Coming up, it's New York City's hottest new attraction landing just in time for spring. No, it's not a bite to eat or a Broadway smash hit. It is a bird. Why city dwellers are flocking to Manhattan's Bryant Park to catch a glimpse of this little slice of nature right in their backyard. Stay with us. That's next. Finally this hour, social media is chirping about a small bird drawing big crowds here in New York City. It's called a woodcock, and birders from all over the region are flocking to Manhattan's Bryant Park, hoping to get a glimpse of the rare visitor. NBC New York digital reporter Kay Ingram has more on the feathered phenomenon.
It's small, it's chunky, and yes, it has fans.
I saw like a huge crowd and I knew immediately where to go.
I think it's cute.
Adorable.
Magnificent.
This adorable short-legged bird is called an American woodcock, and it's taken up residency right here at Bryant Park.
Chill it out now. I've been birding for a little while. I'm kind of a beginner, but this was an exciting bird for me because it's the first time that I'm seeing it.
Known for its bopping moves and tiny physique, this little guy's become a viral sensation online, drawing huge crowds eager to get a look.
And we saw a little crowd, so we came over and said, what's going on? And then we were told that there's a migratory bird that does a little shuffle.
It has a little bit of an odd movement. It's like...
I think it's got a lot of style.
Nicknamed Timberdoodle for its love of timberland trees and doodlebop moves, the woodcock passes through annually, but this time feels different.
This year, it seems like it's way more hyped up and there are a lot more people talking about it. And they're not hard to find. They make a lot of noise, too. It's really cool to see one during the daylight, like 2 feet away from your face. It's a whole nother experience this way.
Our thanks to Kay Ingram for that report. If you're in the New York City area, Bryant Park staff say the woodcock can typically be spotted through mid-April. Catch it while you can, and like you saw there is a crowd. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Thanks for joining us. Stay with us. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.